welcome to this month's webinar with us, Mark and Jules from Brain or Shine. And thank you so much for coming along and spending some time with us. We have a very special guest with us today as well, the wonderful, the enigmatic. What other words can we use to describe him?
That's
but yes, welcome Tim, and thank you for joining us and being part of the webinar.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So we met Tim sometime in the past. It was quite a few years ago, I think, because I have no concept of time, at the ABIF, which is the Association Brain Injury Forum in Northamptonshire, where we're both from. And we got chatting there and realised that we share a lot on our journey with brain injury, which is, I'm sure, for the people who are joining us today as well, they're probably going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, that happens to me as well. And I understand exactly where you're coming from. So we thought it'd be really good to swap some ideas. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about day-to-day functioning with a brain injury, or in our case, Tim, day-to-day non-functioning.
Yeah. Passing it to the wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is it, because we one of the things that is very, very, let's just let this person in.
Yeah.
There we go. One of the things that we've all unfortunately have found out, that trying to live with a brain injury, what was simple beforehand no longer seems to be that way. You're trying to do something rather easy that you thought was easy, but becomes now a major task.
Yeah. So, and also for the people who have just joined as well, just stepping aside, if you do want to chat, there is a chat function on there as well, so you can ask any questions to us as well. If we're mid-flowing something, we might wait until we're finished and then come back to you, so don't think we're ignoring you if your message pops up and we haven't answered it straight away, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, as Jules says, simplicity. Well, we're on this webinar software at the moment, and it's not simple for me. So things like that, they really, really, I don't know, sometimes stress me out, or they sometimes, I just find that if something doesn't follow a simple process, then it becomes a real, I don't know what the word is, but demand on my own brain and demand on my own functionality.
It's just like really, really simple things, like following, a basic food recipe for one, isn't it? I mean, he was trying to make a pizza the other night, and two very, very basic things, cheese being one, and the herbs, completely forgot. And he's like, oh, done it again. Yeah.
Done it again. Tim, you're really good at cooking, aren't you, apparently? So you can follow recipes.
Yeah. Curries and that I'm really good at, and pre-brain injury, I used to cook them from scratch and that. I don't do it so much now because it's just me and the wife, but when we have people around I still do it. But it's the washing machine. I know this is going to sound like a man trying to get out of the washing, but the washing machine we had before, I could work no problem. We've got a new one since the brain injury, and it's like 2 dials and buttons and that. I just can't get my head around what order and what setting to put it on. And so my wife has to do it, and I would use that as a joke, saying it's not just a man's thing. It really is, because it's a simple thing like that is frustrating. The other week we had to buy a new TV, and I set it all up. It wouldn't find the Virgin box, and I was at the point I nearly threw the TV out the window. I was getting that frustrated with it. So I switched it off, went out, came back in the evening, factory reset, didn't download hardly anything it told me to, and it worked straight away.
Wow.
But the annoying thing was, it would connect to the Ring doorbell, but it wouldn't connect to the HDMI cable plugged into the back of the TV. But the Ring doorbell, which isn't even wired to it finds. So,
that doesn't help, does it, when you're having a confusing day and simple things like that just seem to throw you completely off kilter, because you think, well, why can't it see that but see that? But that's almost like the same thing as how your brains work now. It's like, why does it want to be able to do this but can't seem to do that? That's quite a good analogy, isn't it?
Actually, funny you've just said about the washing machine. Since we moved here, I struggle with where to put, the drawer that you put the washing powder and the liquids in and that. It's absolutely ridiculous because it's got 1, 2, 3 on it. But the first bit that I put in has to go in number 2, and the second bit I put in has to go in number 3. And every time I have to really think about it. It's like, Jules, which one do we put this one in again? Number 2. And it's not. I'm trying to get out of doing the washing because I know how to press the button. I think that's
common sense, though, is kicking in. It should be 1, 2, 3 rather than 2 and 3, isn't it? And it's. Whereas people can sort of remember that it is 2 and 3, we're like, no, it goes 1, 2, 3, not 2, 3, 1. It doesn't work that way. But
no, I'm not buying a new telly either, because do you remember days when we used to watch TV? We never used to ring the doorbell on the TV. It was ridiculous. So stuff like that. I think we get too many functions sometimes, and
it's like completing forms or having to fill anything like that in.
I have
your face just said it all.
My wife. And it's even like the electric and gas bill. I open it and I look at it, and it doesn't make head nor sense to me, because it's just like numbers and you're so much in credit. And it's like, okay, well,
that's a good word, though. If you're in credit, that's good news.
Yes, yeah.
No, that's fine. Well, it's funny enough, though. I'm actually all right with financial stuff. I've always had a background in finance anyway, but I've always been okay with that since brain injury. So I know like budgeting works okay for me, but I've spoken to a few friends, and we've got some people through the Brain or Shine community that say they really struggle with finance and budgeting. So I know that's something that's a real challenge for some people, and it can be quite dangerous as well, because you can end up getting into debt or running out of money or something. And again, the simplicity of life, everything we pay by card, or we just tap something. Whereas again, maybe years ago, you used to have £20 in your wallet or £10 or whatever. And once you've spent that money, it's gone. It's completely gone. You have to either go and draw some more money out or earn some more, don't you? Whereas it's not that difficult. It's a little bit more difficult now. Sorry.
Somebody's just put on that there's
an app. I still prefer cash. I do. Sorry.
Yes.
I still prefer cash, because, like you say, you've got it in your wallet. Once it's gone, it's gone. Because it's so easy just to keep tapping and tapping and tapping, isn't it? And especially this holiday we're on at the moment, everywhere's contactless, and it's like
places don't take cash anymore. What was that there? You said somebody said there's an app. Oh yeah, there's an app called CanPlan where you can put all your photos and pull one up each time with step-by-step visual instructions. So thanks for sharing that with us. It's called CanPlan. Not entirely sure how that works, but it's worth looking at, because if it gives you step-by-step visual instructions, I like visuals myself. I like a good old diagram that shows me how something works. Plug this thing in here and press that button, which is good if it's just a load of instructions, and sometimes they don't make sense. But if it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, not 2, 3, 4, like the washing machine, then that's good. So that's tasks can be quite difficult. We also mentioned on the overview of today's webinar looking at seeking support, and obviously you're really lucky because you have Michelle to support you. I'm really lucky that I have Jules to support me as well. But sometimes people don't have somebody who's readily available in the home to help them out as well. So that can be quite difficult. And it's just sometimes thinking of simplicity. So the person who's mentioned there about the app CanPlan, sometimes it could be something like that could be a real, I don't know, lifesaver is probably a dramatic word, isn't it? But life changer really that can help you. So
definitely.
Again, if anybody's got any recommendations or suggestions with those, that's really good. And also just following up from that as well, I find it easier to be organized and have things in certain places. It doesn't always work that way, but if I know where things are, then I can process them easier. So if I've got a folder with all the stuff relating to something in it, that's good. We always leave the keys in the same place. We always leave. I do a lot of running. For people who don't know that, I always leave my running watch in the same place, because running without a running watch is a nightmare if you do that. And I
can't run unless you've got
a watch on. But yeah, joking aside, I also my kit's in the same place. So when we play a certain sport like paddle tennis, that's all in one bag. When I do running, that's all in one place. So I'm not getting mixed up and forgetting things last minute. And I don't know, is that something that works for you as well?
Yeah, I have. I'm like an office sort of with folders for each thing. Because at the moment I'm doing a lot of things for different NHS trusts, sort of these different sort of patient participation bits for brain injury survivors to make things better for them. So I think I'm on third one at the moment. So I've got 3 folders all set out with what they are, because I'll get confused with what university or NHS trust is doing what. So yeah, so I have to have things like that. Keys in the same place, so I know where they are. Phone charged by the bed each night.
Yeah.
Medication in the same place. And a trick I've looked, well, me and my wife have looked with my medication is, if I take it off the sideboard, well, the bedside table in the morning, put it onto the bed, she knows I've taken it. And more importantly, I remember I've took it. And then to get into bed, I've got to take them off the bed and put them back on the bedside table. So it's sort of a good way of both of us knowing that I've taken my medication. And it's a simple thing like that, but as sort of, because I would, especially if my routine had changed, like I'd got up early or I didn't sleep very well, I'd forget to take my medication. And then I'd start feeling the side effects of not having my medication and thinking, why do I feel so rough? And then Michelle will go, well, you're not taking your medication. Go and take it. So now we know that is a way of doing it, and it works for us.
That's really good, actually. Following a routine and creating a habit is real key. We've also seen a message from Craig on here as well. He said, I found a new way to misplace my phone is by putting it in my front pocket's pant instead of keeping it in my hand. So again, it's, if you put something in a different place, it can be a nightmare, can't it? That's a really good one as well, Craig. It's just reminding me, because sometimes as well, I'll make loads of lists of things I've got to do. Then I'll forget to look at the list.
Or you'll lose it.
So yeah, losing the list, or losing the process, or forgetting the process, or creating a new process that you can't follow easily. It's got to be simple, hasn't it?
It has got to be simple. But you mentioned something a little bit earlier, Tim, and I was going to ask you is, do you have any tips on keeping track of time? Because I do know that can be something that you struggle with. I mean, he wasn't the best timekeeper pre-brain injury, and now it's like it's out the window some of the time. So
these are a godsend. Put everything into your calendar, but remember to set the alarms to remind you, because I used to forget to set the alarms and then look at my phone and go, oh, hello, I've got something in half hour to do. And but yeah, everything goes in my phone now with alarms to a day before, 2 hours before the thing's due to start or I'm supposed to be there. And everything goes into that now.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. There was also
a technique, and we're trying to set up a shared one as well between me and the wife, so she knows when I've got stuff, I know when she's got stuff, especially when the hospital rings you up and say, can you make so and so a day for your appointment? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure, because I don't know what my wife's doing and she's out at the moment. But once it's all shared, we can look and sort it out quicker.
Yeah,
we've done that, and it works really, really well, as long as we remember to put it in the diary, because that happens sometimes.
Yeah, or in my case, the right date. We've just got a new phone at the moment, and it's it's good, but sometimes I'll put a date, say like the 25th of August or something. They'll put it in today's date for some reason. I have to really check it, make sure I put it in the right date.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I used to just click on the day and it would automatically populate that date. But I don't know if that's a user error or something with the
No,
settings,
I have had
the
that
shared is good.
problem a couple of times where it sort of tried put it in today's date and not the date I wanted it. And but lucky enough, I was switched on and checked, and it hasn't. So
Yeah.
But it does really help because we've shared the calendars. So once it's in there, like you say, if somebody rings you and says, can you make this day, you can quickly look on there and you can say, well, actually, yes, I can, because you know exactly what your partner or your carer is doing. So whether they're somebody's there available to come with you. So yeah, that's helped us, hasn't it?
It has, absolutely.
And then you set the alarms on those events to remind you, because I remember once we were sat here and both of us had completely missed it. And then all of a sudden I just happened to look at my phone and it was flashing at me, and we had a meeting in like 5 minutes. We were like,
pretending we remembered.
Don't sit there like this.
Yeah.
Did that fluster you though, Mark?
Not being prepared. It does if I'm unprepared. I mean, sometimes I've always been quite good at winging things very last minute, because as Jules said, my timekeeping used to be pretty, I wouldn't say bad. It was always on the edge. So, you know, if I had to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, I'd get there at 9 to 9:01, which used to frustrate the backside off people. And I don't know why, because there was only sort of 6 minutes difference of getting there early. You know, get there at 5:02 instead of at 9:01. And then when I started running my own business and working in schools, I couldn't be late, because obviously I had to be there well in time to set up. And then secondly, there's nothing more embarrassing than walking into a room full of people that are sitting there waiting for you. Then you've got to set up. So my timekeeping massively changed. But what I find as well is I am quite good that if something does go wrong, I try and keep calm in a situation. So we had a school, I'll stay on business idea. We had a school that we were working in last year. And for some reason, we'd done what we just said before. We put the time in the diary wrong. And the lady sent us a message. We were driving there at the time. She sent us a message and say, "Oh, are you still on for today?" And we're like, yeah, it's fine. We're on our way to you now. And she went, "Oh, because we're waiting for you." And it's like, what? Looked, realised that all the students are sitting in the room. We were 10 minutes away from this school, and obviously we hadn't set up. Yeah. So we had 10 minutes to get there, park up, get into the room, and almost sort of set up something. And we managed to pull it off. We literally walked in the room, plugged in a laptop that I already had open on my lap, put it on the desk, and the students, there was like 250 of them, you know, with teachers. There must have been about 30 teachers in there.
They were all in the gym, weren't they? So it's massive.
Massive room. And the teacher, was bless her, she was talking at the front to distract the fact that we were setting up. And they literally just gave us 2 microphones and went, "Are you ready?" And we were like, "Yes," and just carried on as normal. And said, sometimes we're going to talk a little bit about mindsets today. We were saying sometimes things are out of your control, and today we made a mistake and we had to react to it. So yeah, we are good at sometimes dealing with things like that. But then
I think the thing as well that helped on that day is the session was one that we were very familiar with. So that really helped. But if it was something that we were unsure of, I think we would have found it a lot more difficult. We'd have to really dig deep on that.
See, anxiety.
I
have anxiety problems, and sort of so I have to be prepared and 100% on the ball for it. Which takes a lot of mental effort and energy and that. But
I think that really does happen though. You know, we're saying that nowadays you have to make lots of adjustments to your life, but if you can plan ahead, it makes it a lot easier, I think. So, you know, if you've got to get somewhere, then, you know, look at the journey and think, have you got enough time to do it on the day? Do you need to go the night before? Do you need to maybe, if you're going on that day, put some breaks in, all sorts of different things, and making sure that you've got everything that you need beforehand, and then maybe checking it and double checking it. We do that all the time now because it just lessens those anxiety moments where you panic and think, oh, standing at the airport,
the big one I have to do is switch my computer on an hour before I've got a Zoom or Teams, ideally, so in case the dreaded update window pops up, you know, and it's like, I've got 2 minutes, they can't do an update. But now I'll do
that's
really
I'll do
good. Hour, 2 hours.
Yeah. Just sort of another example. I mean, we talked obviously about the work situation, which was pretty major. But I had one the other week where we was trying to book a ferry online. Now, I don't really struggle with something like finding a time, a date, and putting in my payment details, my own personal details. But I just could not work this process. And then every time I got so far into it, it seemed to just stop and crash. And it's saying, you've missed this bit out, you missed that bit out. And then it would take me right back to the start. And I tried 3 times. And it wasn't something that actually needed doing at that particular minute. You know, if I'd booked the ferry again the following day, it would have been exactly the same price. It wouldn't have gone up in price or whatever. But I just got really agitated, I think was the word. And Jules went, "Are you okay?" I went, "This is doing my head in. I can't do this now." So I shut the laptop down and just walked away from it and thought, you know, I don't need to get stressed about that now. My fatigue really kicked in. I just felt like I really need to just go and lay down because this process had thrown me. And then Jules just casually took the laptop out of the room, booked the ferry with absolutely no problem at all. And the response was really good because Jules didn't go, "Oh, well, I've done it. What are you playing at?" She just went, "Look, do you know what? Don't worry about it." She went, "I've actually managed to sort it out as well, so you needn't worry about it now. It's all fine."
No, actually, what I said is, "How do you want me to pay for it?" I've got to that bit. And I don't know what the card to
pay for it. But it was sort of, the first step was walking away from it and accepting that I couldn't do it. The second step was telling Jules I couldn't do it. The third step was Jules accepting I couldn't do it and me accepting that she'd managed to do it. And it wasn't a competition to say, "Oh, well, I've done this," or "You didn't do it," or "I felt useless," or whatever. And I do feel useless sometimes in that situation.
That's difficult, I think. Very often I see that in Mark, that, you know, he's tried his absolute best at that moment and it's not working and he gets really frustrated, and it's very, very difficult.
I don't know if that's a thing with females with a brain injury as well, but I think it's sort of probably the male sort of self-esteem and I should be able to do this, you know, and that, because
I think it's across the board, to be fair. You know, I think everybody anybody that has the brain injury does feel like really frustrated and thinks that they're not as clever as perhaps they used to be or something. I think that's
type of
sadly. But the thing is, you're not failing. It's just that at that moment it's not functioning. You know, maybe like you said, if you'd done it the next day, it might have worked, but at that particular moment, and I think maybe the computer, the IT system's a little bit against you. So that's why you've got your 3-step rule, isn't it?
Yeah, I came up with something a few years ago, and this came from business really, because other than Brain or Shine Future Toolbox, we have a network marketing business as well, which is basically helping people save money, and we just signpost people to a website. But obviously in that process, they have a few sort of questions that come up and what have you. And I remember people just saying, just keep it simple all the time. And this is not just unique to this particular business. And I used to think that if something's more than 3 steps, then I'm not going to do it. So I called it my 3-step rule. Now, I'm not saying if something's 4 steps, that's it, I'm quitting, I'm not doing it at all. But I look at how to break it down. So, for example, if there's 10 steps in it, I need help on that. That's going to take me a little bit of time to do it. There might be 10 really, really simple steps, that's fine. But if it's 10 complicated steps, then I need to involve somebody else. Now, regulars on the webinars will have met Sally, who's a really good friend and also a director as well. So if there's something that's really complicated, Sally normally gets it if there's a form because she likes filling them in. But in the past, I would have been the type of person that would have said, "Look, I'll try and do it. I'll try and have a go at it, or I'll try and work through this." I've got a document that's on my computer at the moment, which is about a funding application, and it's way outside my comfort zone. So that's going to Sally and Jules, because it's more than 3 steps in my mind. I've got to think about it and process it. But yeah, that's a good
I
little tip for
break
somebody
things
there.
down into little tasks. Rather than trying to do it in a day, if it takes me 2 or 3 days, I've still done it. Just break it into little steps.
Yeah, definitely. If you can manage to do that, and it makes it easier, and then you have that sense of achievement that you've managed to do it. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. And it's looking at how you can make that process simpler. The bite-sized chunks are key. So if it's 10 steps, take 3 of them now, take 3 of them tomorrow, take 3 of them the day after, whatever, and just look at how you can how you can simplify it as easy as possible. Yeah, love that one. Absolutely love that one. So one very, very last thing that we were just going to talk about. Brainy just kicked in because I can't remember what it was now. Can you remember? Because I didn't even tell you.
I don't know what you. No.
Yeah, brain injury memory. Where is it on my list here? Taking control. That was it. Yeah. It's. I suppose a summary of everything we've talked about today is the day-to-day functioning of life. We're not always talking about creating Mount Everest-sized tasks or goals here. We're talking about simple, everyday tasks. And if there's something that you find really, really difficult to work through, then look at how you can get the control back in your life. So, for example, if it's something that's stressing you out, the stress then throws your own control out the window and throws fatigue in there, it throws anxiety in there, it throws logic and reasoning goes out the door and everything. So that's probably my last little tip I'm going to share with people is look at how you can control things and look at who else can help you and what you can maybe offload that you don't need to do and overly complicate. And we've got about a couple of minutes left, Tim, so I'm going to throw one to you. What would be your final tip of the day?
Just be happy with what you've achieved that day. Don't look what you failed on doing. Look at what you have done, because I found that hard to do to start off with. Because I just kept thinking, I didn't do this. I failed at doing this. I used to be able to do this. Why can't I do this? But now I look and think, no, I've done this today, and that's an achievement. So pat yourself on the back every now and again.
Yeah. Celebrating them small wins.
Yeah. And looking at what you can do and what you can't.
Because I think we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
We're our own worst critics, aren't we, at the end of the day? And try and not be that so much and be the positive what you've done. So
Brilliant.
Do you have one?
A great one to end. No, mine was going to be along the same sort of lines, is just to not beat yourself up and just think about what you have been able to do. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't have to be something huge. Doesn't, I used to always do that little thing before I went to sleep, think about something positive, something good that you did, and then you wake up still feeling positive.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just conscious of time for everybody, and we want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. You can watch this webinar back. There'll be a recording available in the next few days, and we'll email that out to you and obviously put it onto our social media as well. I want to thank Tim for coming along, as always.
Thank you for inviting me. As always, I'm happy to help.
Brilliant. And thanks for your insights as well, because I always find that when me and Tim chat outside of Brain or Shine stuff, we always share things and say, oh, well, that happens to me. Yeah, that happens to me. And we can swap ideas, and it normalizes it as well.
It does.
But for you guys who are joining us today or watching this back on a recording, you can find loads of resources on our website, which is brainOrShine.com. We have a peer support Facebook group on there, which Jules, myself and Tim are on, and you can reach out to us, any of us on there as well. Subscribe to our newsletter, listen to our podcast. We have these monthly webinars. There's loads of information. We're on social media as well. It gets a little bit overstimulating if you try and do it all. So pick the ones that work best for you. and we'll sign off and say to everybody, have a wonderful evening, or whatever time of day this is that you're watching it back.
And do take care, everybody.
Yeah. And thanks again, Tim. And we will catch you very soon, because I think when we press leave, it cuts everybody off. So I'll catch up with you offline in a bit.
All right, mate. See you later.
Cheers, guys. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.